Self-care is the best medicine for society's message that the more we do, the more worthy we are, says Suzi Lula in her wonderful book, Motherhood Evolution. What do you think about it?
I love this quote and I love the book. I read Suzi's book a couple of years ago, and it's that kind of permission to give, to be able to take care of oneself. And I feel like growing up, the expectation is that we work hard and we sacrifice and we have to always be doing. And, whether we do at work to achieve and accomplish, or whether we do for our children so that we are meaningful parents, there's that doing element behind it. And then if we're to take care of ourselves, there's a bit of shame in it, or a bit of embarrassment, selfishness. It's taken as it could be selfish, because the idea is to live in this sacrifice victim mentality, which I don't know where it comes from. I don't know, Anca, I don't know how you feel about this, but I really appreciated her book, and I felt like it was a permission to take care of oneself, to then take care of others.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because if we need even more permission, is the fact that our children benefit from it. It's like it's like this meeting between two nervous systems. And the question is, what nervous system do we want to show up with next to our child? Because they can pick up on it so fast. And when we are all over the place and we are tired and we don't feel seen, we don't feel accepted, we don't feel loved, then we will project this onto our children. And it's them who suffer. So yes, I also love this book, and the message is so strong, because society tells us that we need to do for our children and to be there for our children. And what we are saying here is not to put the children aside or not to be careful for their needs. It's that we also need to fulfill our needs and to look at ourselves.
I like how you related that to the children, and I think it's very encouraging when we think of it that way. It's like also when we took, I took the conscious parenting coaching. I joined the institute because if someone had told me take this course, I would have said I don't have time, I'm taking care of my kids. But once it became something about the kids, well, of course I'm all in, I need to take care of my kids. But then it brings it back to it's actually an inner journey. And I like to learn things in different ways. That's the way it sinks in. So I'll just share a couple of ways that made self-care really become a very important part of my life. And one of them is not being able to pour from an empty cup. And so imagining a cup, and every time you do something for your children or for someone else, you take out of the cup and you pour from the cup. And then, you go to work, you pour some more, you create something for someone, or you do something, you pour some more. And at some point, if you're not doing anything for yourself, that cup will be empty. And there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to scrape. It's just not possible. And looking at it that way, we need to constantly be filling it in while pouring out, and filling it in while pouring out. And I think when I realized that, it's also why some of, going on a retreat or doing some activities once in a while for a person might not be enough. Because, I had someone I worked with, and she went on a retreat and she came back and she said, I felt great, but a couple of hours later, I was triggered again. And the idea is it needs to be consistent. It's like we breathe all the time. We eat multiple times a day. We shower every day. There's some things that we do consistently in our lives, and self-care is one of them. To give ourselves something in a consistent way to be able to show up to life in a different way. It's not enough to, go on a retreat or go get our nails done every, month or whatever it may be. It needs to be something that's daily.
What I also love about Suzi Lula's message is this shift from lack to abundance. And when we talk about self-care, there are so many ways that we can do this. I always say there are 4 essentials. And these essentials would be food, proper food, water, to drink enough water to hydrate ourselves, sleep, because without sleep we don't function well, and walking in nature, preferably, but at least walking outside or being outside. And then there are all the others that we can add to our day or to our week, because I also agree with what you say. It's not enough to do something big once a year or every quarter, but it's the daily things or the weekly things that you do. And this can go in so many areas. It's what you do for your spiritual life, what you do for your health, what you do for your social engagement, if you have friends, if you meet with someone, how you do for your love relationship. So it doesn't have to be one thing. And it's definitely not just about doing your nails or, I don't know, going to a spa. So it's so much more than that.
I love the way you looked at it in terms of different relationships and also the different ways with the food and water and sleep. I was waiting for you to say sleep. To me, it's such a big one.
Yes.
And I also like to look at it in the different ways of, like, there's the physical body. So for self-care, how am I going to feed this physical body? And for that, it would be, the food and the sleep and an exercise, a very important one, for me. And then I would look on a mental level. So what is self-care for my mind? And that's where I like to read. I like to, take a course or learn something. And then there's soul care, or some for my heart, and there I like to meditate or journal, paint, any kind of expressive dance, listen to music, something that is more expressive. And so looking at also the different ways that we can feed ourselves.
Yeah, what I would also add, maybe, if you allow me, is the social care, maybe, right? Because we have also this outer experience, and we are social beings, and we need this a lot. And as parents, I don't know how the others' experience is, but for me, at times, it can feel really lonely, because if you are all day long with the kids, and you don't meet a lot of people, or you don't meet the people that you can connect with, this can become a very lonely journey. So I appreciate so much these type of meetings, even on Zoom, that we have, and where we can share and where we can show up as authentic, and we can just, I'd like to tell you something. I had a really bad day, and I did this and I did that, and that I see the full acceptance in your look, let's say, or in the other's look. And that gives me way to breathe. And that's also very important for self-care, having someone to share your experience with.
I love that. I'm so glad you added that. Absolutely. We are social beings, and it is so important to have this kind of community to be able to share with and to feel a sense of belonging, also as a form of self-care. Another thing that comes to mind is self-care is not selfish. And I think the example that best explains this, and this confused me for the longest time until I read, Suzi's book, and also thought more and reflected about self-care, is on airplanes, where they tell you to put your own oxygen mask first. And this baffled me for the longest time. You have these kids and they're helpless. And if there is a crisis, or, panic, you need to take care of them first, right? But no, because if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be there to take care of them, or you will not be at a grounded, healthy state to be able to take care of them. And this really hit home. And I noticed this on the days where I go for my run in the morning, and then I give myself time to, maybe reflect before I pick them up from school, just to ground myself. And I feed myself in the ways that I shared throughout the day. I can show up in a much more positive state and more grounded than on the other days when I'm busy and I'm running around and I haven't really fed myself. Then I can't show up in that way. And it's so important to see how when we take care of ourselves, we can show up in a much more grounded and loving way, and then taking care of them.
Mm-hmm. And going back to this idea of abundance and lack, we come from abundance then. Because if we use your example with the empty cup, we have the cup full. It's abundant. If we are in this mentality that we need to run, we need to do, we need to, and it's always something more and not enough, and then we come from lack. And it's never enough. But when we take the time to ground ourselves, to really offer what we need first, then we are able to pour. And where I would also go is this co-regulation idea, because we are the ones that children learn from, how to soothe themselves. And when they are in high distress or in high stress, they need us to show up as really settled beings. Not as doings, but as beings, and to help them ground themselves and soothe and be with, because that's how they learn in the end to self-regulate, right? It all comes from our relationship to them. And I would go back to this idea, what nervous system do we want to show up with?
I love that. And it just brought up for me that, yeah, we show them what nervous system we want to show up with, and we also show them how we take care of ourselves. And if we look at the different ways we spoke about, so taking care of our bodies, for example, with food, do we sit and have a meal? Are we worthy enough to sit and have a meal at the table? Or are we running around, taking leftover food and eating a sandwich on the go? And how are we taking care of our bodies? Are we exercising? Are we, nourishing ourselves? Because this is how they will learn to also take care of their bodies and take care of themselves. So I love that. And really, it's the easiest way to show a person how to be, is to really be it yourself, as opposed to putting, rules and, exercise and eat healthy. If I do that, right, it's a reflection of how we do that.
Exactly. It's not in the what we say, it's in the how we do it and what we show them.